Peter.
Morning, Swanny. How are you?
Very well, thanks, mate. Good
Welcome
to see
to
you.
Gunn Mall.
Thank you.
Okay, great. Come in.
So this is the start. This is where it all begins.
This is where it all begins, Swanny. What actually happens is when a tree is felled, it's then split into what we call clefts, which is like a it's like a
wedge
cake,
of cheese.
really. Yeah. But obviously we only need that centre bit there to make into the bat, and then they cut from that into what we call a blade. And this is a grade 1, really nice tight grains, very straight, with just perhaps a little hint of colour on the outside edge.
Oh, so this could end up in my bag one day.
This would be a very good bat, I think.
Brilliant.
Yes, I think you get a lot of runs with that one. Okay, Swanny, so when we decide we need to put some bats through the manufacturing process, they come through out of the yard into the dehumidifier. It takes about 17 or 18 days to get down to the right moisture content.
Right, so they come outside, they're nice and cold in the yard, they come here and warm up, ready to be made into a new bat.
That's extremely important because the moisture content is vital to making a good bat. So it's firstly resilient, but as light as possible as well. Let's have a look.
Okay, so we're in the kiln now. How many bats have you got? It seems like there's thousands.
Well, this holds 3,500 blades.
In each go. And how long will they be in this kiln for?
18 to 21 days, depending on the moisture content level when they first come in.
Right. So Peter, I've noticed these yellow wires sticking out of one of these clefts. What are they for?
What they do is we put these into the end of the cleft to keep track of the moisture content. This then is read on the outside panel that we saw earlier, and that'll tell us when this batch is ready. There's 4 different blades scattered around at different places so that we can be sure that each cleft is down to the right moisture content before we turn the kiln off.
Well, that makes sense.
Yeah, great. Yeah.
So is it just whatever you need at the time, or did you say the pros bats, right, we'll put them in now, boys bats tomorrow, or in 3 weeks' time?
Well, they go in here according to what we need to make. So 3,500 blades will work out what the right proportion is for each type of blade, and then when it goes from here, it'll be graded, and if it's a really good blade, it'll go into one of
my
your bags.
Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've come in from the dehumidifier straight into this machine here.
Yes. This is called the moulder.
The moulder.
And the purpose of this is to take the cleft, the blade from out of the dehumidifier and make it into a consistent shape. So when it goes to machining, it starts at exactly the right place and gives the right shape. Right. So that's the initial blade, and as you can see, when it's been through the dehumidifier, it's quite rough, and you can't see the grain that well. So when it's been through here, it's much more consistent in shape because some of the blades are not quite uniform. This makes them uniform, and as you can see the grains are much easier on the colour.
Starts to look a lot more like an actual cricket bat now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, very nice. So we've left the moulding room and now we've entered the
grading room.
Grading room.
Yeah, each batch of wood comes through into here, and the bat maker looks at each individual piece to determine how good he thinks that piece of wood is. Let's take this one for an example. You can see
looks very good to me.
Well, it's a pretty exceptional piece of wood actually. It must be 15 grains on there across the face, all evenly spaced, so that'll play particularly well. What the grader will also do is just determine which end the handle should be.
Okay.
Obviously the handle end doesn't hit the ball very much, or at least it shouldn't do. So the important bit is to get the best bit of the wood in the driving area. As you can see here, I don't know whether you can just see that
scoops off.
It's slightly bent at the top here, so the handle will go that end. So down at the bottom, it's dead straight.
And how far off the finished size and shape and article is this cleft now?
Well, that feels a pretty reasonably light piece of wood.
Yeah.
I guess that's about somewhere 3.5 to 4 pounds in weight. It'll lose half that weight in the wood by the time it's shaped. Let's just double check it on the scales. Yeah, there we are, £3.10.
Spot on.
So when the handle's in it, rubber grip, stickered, that'll be about £2.10 ounces, which will have for a good sized bat, that'll pick up really well.
I'll have that one then.
I think you should. Okay, Swanny, so once we've graded the clefts, it comes into here. Now, the most important thing is to make sure that the moisture content is consistent in this room all through the year. So that if a piece of wood comes in here and is here for say 3, 4, 5, 6 months, it doesn't deteriorate. It doesn't become too dry, or it doesn't pick up too much moisture.
So everything in this room is quality control, basically, the moisture level.
Yeah. As you can see, there's no windows. It's well insulated. Here we have the panel that's very similar to the one in the big dehumidifier, and there's a small dehumidifying plant here that either sends out warm air or cold air, depending on whether the temperature needs to go up. We try and keep the humidity at about 55% and the temperature up to around about 20 degrees. What happens is if the air becomes too dry, there's you can see just up there's a hot air unit that will throw out steam, and the fan there will circulate it.
Right.
So it'll make the whole building more humid.
More humid.
Yeah. So the other major part of the bat, of course, is the handle, and it's just as important that we keep the moisture content of the handle stable as it is the blade.
Yeah.
As you realise, when the handle goes into the blade, it's cut and spliced into it.
Right.
Now, if this, say, was 20% moisture content and the blade is between 8 and 10 where it should be, then this will shrink in time and cause problems on the glue bond. Okay. So it's just as important that this is at between 8 and 10% as the blade.
And it's made out of the same kind of wood?
No, this is made out of cane. It's spliced with 3 rubber strips to take absorption of shock. Cane is a very good medium for making a handle because it'll stretch in 2 directionally. I'm sure you've seen shots of yourself on Sky where the
it sort of wobbles, doesn't it? Yeah.
And there's a lot of movement at the splice area, so it's very, very important that in the manufacturing process that is very carefully taken care of. Well, Swanny, that's the first part of the manufacturing process. This is really what we've shown you so far is the processes involved in getting all the substrates, the willow and the cane and the handle, into the right condition to make fantastic bats. We're now going to go through and see the manufacturing process, and David is just going to come in and take you through the processes of manufacturing. There's David.
Hey, David.